guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka Geek XX Chic, and I'm back with a different kind of video. This one is actually just about some television suggestions. And the reason I decided to make this video is because, well, obviously TV is slowing down, and I feel like it's going to be the trend for a while, at least for shows that didn't already record everything last year. So reactions are going to probably be a little bit slower. I am looking for other shows to start reacting to in the meantime, ones that are not going to be like really crazy to try to film as far as getting blocked, etc. But in the meantime, I just thought, you know, for most of us around the world right now, it's a really weird time, and just I think mentally hearing that we're not allowed to go outside can be very stressful in of itself. And one of the things we definitely all have to be very wary of is our mental health during this time. And so I decided to comprise a top 10 list of TV shows that I think are feel good, uplifting, like you watch them and you actually feel just better about humanity and the planet afterwards, or you feel like cheering, or you feel like you want to get up and do something, whatever. The point is that these are stories that either are about really uplifting characters or just have overall really uplifting storylines. This list is subjective. This is completely based on my opinion of TV shows that I've really enjoyed and found to be uplifting. Obviously, mileage may vary. You may not feel the same way, but these are the ones that I like. All right, with all of that being said, let's jump into the list. Number 10, Disney's Hero Project, or Marvel Hero Project. So this is a brand new show. It's an original series on the brand newly launched Disney Plus platform. And basically what I like about this show is it's all about these gorgeous little humans who are doing really big things. And so every episode is a story of one particular child who has done some really, really amazing, monumental things to either change their community, change their government, change their country, and of course, by a ripple effect, change the world. And I just think it's such an uplifting and heartwarming thing to see that there are young people out there that are big thinkers, even though they're in tiny bodies. And it just makes me feel better about the future of our world, to know that there are still kids like this who are going to hopefully grow up to be really great adults. I definitely recommend watching the Hero Project. It is completely family friendly. And as I said, there's really no way you can't watch this and not just feel kind of warmed to your heart. Number 9. This one is actually a K-drama. So as some of you know from my other videos, I am learning Korean. I have been for a long time. And as part of my learnings, I often watch different shows and listen to music, etc. from Korea. And so K-dramas have, in the last 5 years especially, become very popular globally. This one is one that I watched years ago. It actually came out in 2009, so she's not new. She's been out there a minute, but it is considered one of the biggest, most popular dramas ever in Korea and also outside of Korea. I feel like almost every K-drama fan has watched this, and it's called Boys Over Flowers. So this particular show is actually based on a manga of the same name, and they decided to do a Korean take on this story, and it's a long watch. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's 22, I think, or 24 episodes, all about an hour long. However, there is this really inspiring character in there of Gumjandi who has to overcome all these different obstacles, but at the same time, she's got this heartwarming personality. There's a lot of kind of slapstick and, you know, just over-the-top humor in there between her and her family and some of the interactions she has. But overall, it is a really nice, triumphant story about her being the underdog who kind of gets to a better place, but also her love interest eventually in the show. You see him go through a lot of character development and change from being a really dislikable character in the beginning to someone who's actually the rootable anti-hero in the end. There's also some really funny supporting cast members as well that have some great storylines. But as I mentioned, it is a long watch. However, it's not like most of us have anywhere to go for the next little while, so you could definitely use this one as maybe one of your long-term 1 or 2 episode a night type of shows. It is currently streaming on Netflix if you have Netflix, but it is completely in Korean. I gotta put that out there because I know some of y'all are gonna come for me, but this is completely in Korean. There are subtitles, there is no dub, but I definitely think it is worth the watch. I will also caveat that it is a K-drama, and for those of you who are completely ignorant of K-dramas, they are very different than American dramas in the sense of Korea is still quite conservative, especially when it comes to what they put on their media. And this was, again, over 10 years ago now. So it was even more conservative back then. So just to make a long story short, there's going to be some scenes that might seem very different for us if you're a Westerner, because they even are very conservative when it comes to kiss scenes. So I just put that out there because I know sometimes when people first watch K-dramas, they're like, what? What's going on here? Why is this so squeaky clean? Well, that's the reason why. But honestly, I feel like this show does a really good job of not focusing too much on those aspects, and the overall story is really fun to watch. Number 8. This one is an oldie but a goodie. It is called Eureka! It is basically one of the cutest geeky shows I think that has ever been on the air. The basic high-level plot is that this Joe Blow type of cop with his teenage daughter end up stumbling upon a secret city that's filled with the world's most ingenious scientists. And they live in this community that is like a solid 50 years ahead of the rest of the world. And like I said, the big thing is that they're secret. The whole world doesn't even know that this place exists. And through a series of course, serendipitous events, this cop and his daughter end up getting to stay in this place that otherwise would have been reserved for someone who technically wouldn't have been in the same, how do I put this? Someone who would have been, I guess, deemed smarter. I don't want to be careful about how I say this, because as you watch the series, you find out that the main character of the cop and his daughter are actually both very smart, but they're just not necessarily smart in that academic way. And that's one of the really cool things about the show, is that it actually explores the difference between how this quote-unquote Joe Blow cop with average intelligence is actually a lot smarter and sensical when it comes to certain things than these people who can literally launch a rocket to the moon. There are about 4 seasons, I believe, 4 or 5 seasons in total, and they are all available on streaming platforms. I believe Amazon and YouTube both have them. If you are a nerd or you're a science nerd, you're definitely going to love this show because there's lots of really cool call outs to different types of science. So if you get a chance, check out Eureka. Number 7. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Honestly, I feel like if you grew up in the 90s or even the early 2000s, you probably already know about the show, but there's a few people out there who still have no idea what this show is about, and I feel like that is an injustice. This is probably one of my favorite animated shows ever. The main reason is that it's just a classic story. There's nothing that's super unique about the storyline itself. We have a young boy who is chosen to be the savior of the world, and he's got to basically overcome all these different obstacles to get to this final confrontation that's going to be the world-saving act, right? And so that's not a unique story, right? We've seen that or heard that, you know, the chosen one who has to save everyone. That has been done a million times. But what makes this anime so fun is just the characters, first of all, are adorable, from our lead character Aang to his 2 companions that he takes with him throughout his journey. But every single season of the show is actually an aspect that he has to learn about his element bending. And that's another thing in this show, is that a lot of people there, depending on where they come from, they can either bend or manipulate air, water, fire, or earth. Except the Avatar, who is the namesake of the show, aka Aang, who actually is the rare ability to be able to practice all of these. He can actually bend all of the elements, and that's what makes him special. There's a lot of really great social messages that are woven into the show, but they're not heavy hitting. It's all just very beautifully shown and delivered in a way that makes sense for the show and for the character, but also as humans, we can all relate to. Another side note about this show is that Netflix is actually doing a live action version of it, which was scheduled to come out this year, but now I'm not so sure with everything that's going on. And I have to say, from what I've seen of the trailer, it actually looks pretty cool. So I am looking forward to that. But in the meantime, the animated version is there for your pleasure. Number 6, the classic. We all know it, we've all heard of it, and if you haven't, you're literally living under a rock. Friends. If you grew up circa the 90s, 2000s, you definitely watched Friends, or at least you heard about Friends. And I don't even think I need to go into what the show is about, but if you are living under a rock, or you just have never really known what the big deal is about Friends, the whole show is based on the premise of a handful of people who are good friends, who've known each other for a very long time, living their life in New York, and every episode is literally just kind of satirical, funny comedy around day-to-day stuff. it was a phenomenon in its heyday. So it's a great show and just a classic. So I just thought I'd throw it in there because I've never just thrown on a Friends episode and not had a good laugh. Like, it's always classically funny, and I think it's one of those few shows where their comedy will always be timeless. Number 5 is Alive. The Pretender. Now this again is a throwback. I'm sorry, I'm throwing out some older shows right now just because I feel like a lot of the shows that have come out in the last like 5 to 6 years have either been based either on crime drama, hospital drama, horror, sci-fi, but on a dark theme. And I was like, I want things that are actually gonna put people in a good mood, not ones that are gonna be about a lot of emotional heartache and stress and all those kinds of things. So that's why I'm not including too many things that have come out in the last little while. So my apologies. This show, I think, has a really cool premise. Basically, the lead of the show, who goes by the name of Jared, is this genius who was trained in a facility to become basically the ultimate spy. And he eventually breaks out of this facility that has held him since he was a child. And when he gets out into the real world, instead of using his abilities to basically manipulate or hurt people, he decides to instead use it to actually benefit other people. And so all the episodes are really cool. They're usually themed around Jared taking on the persona of some other new profession or identity. But whatever he's doing, it's always kind of a means to an end of getting either justice or improving someone's life or righting a wrong, something along those lines. And all the while this is happening, he is being chased by the very agency that he ran away from because, of course, he wasn't supposed to escape, and more importantly, he's kind of using their own methods against them. It is available on iTunes, and I believe it's also available on Amazon Prime. This one's an old one, so it's not as easy to get a hold of, but if you can see it or you've seen it show up in either of those queues, I definitely suggest giving that a shot because it's definitely a good watch. Numero 4. The Mandalorian. Okay, seriously, I feel like everyone in the last year heard about this show. If you are even remotely a Star Wars fan, you heard about The Mandalorian. This, again, is a Disney Plus original show. It is based on a character of the same namesake of the show who basically gets thrown on a quest he never, ever thought he would be on to basically just right a wrong, I guess you could say. Like, he sees an injustice is about to happen and he just can't bring himself to let it happen, even though by trade, the Mandalorians are supposed to basically be hands-off and not involved in like the injustices of the world. So it's a really cool anti-hero type of show. It's, of course, Disney, so money. Therefore, the effects are mind-blowing. Like, it's such a gorgeously shot show, but it is really a great watch. And honestly, I feel like at the end of every episode, I found that I was just like gushing and just really feeling all warm and fuzzy because there's a lot of really sweet themes around family and belonging that are brought out throughout the storyline. So if there was ever a time to feel like you belong or feel like someone's looking out for you, I feel like it's now. And so I feel like this is why I think The Mandalorian is definitely a great uplifting watch. Number 3, Dragon Prince. This show is so cool and so sweet. This one, it was made by the same people who are behind Avatar: The Last Airbender. And the reason I put them higher in the list is simply because it's a newer show, and so far I'm really loving it. It's not actually completed yet, but I really feel like once the series is complete, it's going to be one of the animated epics of our time. This one, once again, has your underdog story. You've got a ragtag group of heroes that have a fairly insurmountable challenge to accomplish, but they still go into it with earnest because they think it's the right thing to do. And of course, the fate of the world is on their shoulders. However, it's full of a lot of really cute interactions, tons of comedy, very interesting character. But I think what really makes the Dragon Prince stand out for me is the world that they've built. So far there have been 4 seasons of the Dragon Prince. I think it's 4. Sorry, I've been watching so many shows lately. This is just one of those really cute, feel-good, beautifully animated shows, but there really is a great message that's being shown throughout it. It's all very uplifting. Again, lots of themes around belonging and acceptance and getting over the silliness of thinking that you're different just because you look different. And I feel like after you watch every episode, if not every season, you just kind of walk away with kind of a, aw, that was nice kind of feeling. So if you have Netflix, definitely check out The Dragon Prince. That is the only place that is available currently. Number 2, Anne of Green Gables. Now this one is probably the most unavailable show that I'm recommending, and I apologize for that, but this is just going by what I feel like are always timelessly uplifting types of shows. So Anne of Green Gables, I feel like you probably may not know this show unless you are from North America, particularly Canada, just because this is a very old show. It actually aired originally in Canada and I think the US as well in 1985. So I know some of you who watch me probably weren't even alive in 1985. But basically, the story of Anne of Green Gables is just a timeless, beautiful classic. Anne, who is the namesake of the show, is an orphan who ends up getting accepted into this elderly brother and sister's home. It starts out as an accident, but it just turns into this beautiful, odd coupling that blossoms into the most gorgeous, just loving family that you could ever imagine. And then you basically follow Anne's life as she grows up in this small town in Prince Edward Island, Canada. And it's just that I don't even know how to explain why the show is so great. It's funny. It's sweet. It has moments that are a little bit on the sad side, but overall, it's a lot of feelings of triumph and joy and just warm fuzzies, because it really is a story about this girl who feels like she doesn't belong anywhere, finally not only finding her place within a family, but just within a community. That's another thing I should bring up as well. Cinematically, Anne of Green Gables is gorgeous. It was shot in 1985, y'all, so please do not come for me. There was no HD, there was no 1080p back in them days, there was no 4K. It was shot on good old front film, you know, big old handycam, so it's not gonna be the shiniest of quality that way. Now this one, unfortunately, much like The Pretender, is a little bit on the hard side to get your hands on because it is an older show. There is another way to watch the story, even though it's not the OG, which is the one that I'm passionate about. The other option is, if you have Netflix, there is a show called Anne with an E, which is based on the exact same subset of books. But I haven't personally watched it, but I've seen that it's reviewed quite well. So that's another option to at least see the story, which I think is still worth watching. But definitely check out Anne of Green Gables. Number 1, pew, 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 pew. This is my favorite show of all time so far. Nothing I have watched has come close to the love that I have for this show. And that is none other than Firefly. Let's just take a moment of silence for the beautiful show that was Firefly. If you do not know what Firefly is, that's fine. A lot of people don't, because it was a very unique and irregular situation that happened with the show. To make a long story short, it was supposed to be a multi-season show, but Fox really didn't put a lot of effort into promoting the show. They really weren't about this show succeeding, which is really a shame because it was a phenomenon. But what we did get in the 14 episodes of the show, in my opinion, are some of the best pieces of TV that have ever happened. And it's just also the premise. Like, I can't even describe the premise of the show for you, because if I do, you're going to think I'm crazy. Honestly, you just have to watch the show. It's brilliant. And why I consider this a feel-good show is because there are some dark themes in this one. I'm not going to say it's all sunshine and poppies. And the overall impetus behind the show is triumph. Again, underdog story, moving forward, family, togetherness, just all really warm themes overall. Because those are the kind of things that Joss usually likes to bring out in all of the shows that he does, is the beauty and the comedy, and sadly, to a degree, the tragedy of human connection. And it's always just a good watch, in my opinion. I've rewatched that show more times than I care to admit, but it's great. The show itself is available on iTunes and on Amazon Prime. It's just a great show. So that's it, guys. That is my top 10 list of TV shows that I think are really great to bring you some pick-me-up, some good moves, some good vibes in this time that we're all kind of spending more time at home. If you guys think that there's some shows out there that would give the same effect, please leave them below. Let's start a whole chain, a list of different shows that really make you laugh or make you feel good. I really hope you guys like this video. I know it's a little bit different than what I usually do, but I feel like it's a weird time, so we should all be doing something a little bit different right now, especially if it might help someone or help make someone feel better, because that would really be, honestly, the best thing that could come out of this video for me. So if you like this video, guys, please click like, and if you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time.